Hey guys, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome to our second episode of our podcast, How to Have Fun in Schools. Together again with me, Moritz, our marketing manager, and with
me, 30, our team manager.
Yeah, exactly. And for today, our main topic is our
initiation process.
Initiation process and what we did after becoming vice champions at the German
which
nationals.
We've talked about in the last episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely take a look at it, check it out. And yeah, now I think we're actually ready to start. Just so you get a basic idea, first of all, we're going to talk about what we did during initiation or during the first few months after the German championships. And then we're going to give you, in our format Array Explains, some ideas or learnings that we can pass on, hopefully, how we've actually managed to overcome the initiation process in a good way, and how you can do it yourself as well.
Yeah.
And then we're going to present one of our sponsors or supporters for the World Finals, which is the Wilhelm Stemmer Stiftung.
Yeah. So that's the basic plan, and I think we're getting started now.
So I think we can basically start with what it was like after the German championship. I think after the German championship it was really a lot of pressure because we had worked for 3 months straight, without sleeping. We slept, of course, but
a little.
5 hours a night without sleep, and everybody was so tired because you had now achieved the goal of going to the World Finals and we were completely done.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that we really did after the German finals, which was maybe one of the most important to really get an idea of what we actually want to accomplish, was that we actually just took 1 week off, right?
That's true. I just wanted to say one experience I've made after the German nationals was that actually way more people really looked at us. For example, on Instagram, suddenly all of the big teams, for example, Rico Racing started following us, or of the Track podcast started following us, and that was way different to the change between the Hamburg and the German nationals, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely, because I think now we were competing on an international level, and there were also many more international people actually interested in what we were doing. And Moba, what did you actually do during the... Now tell everybody, what did you do during the week that you took off? What was it like for you?
Yeah, so first of all, you can't just, stop thinking of F1 because I think that's not possible.
Yeah.
But during the week, I chilled, I would say.
Me as well.
I already thought about things we could improve in contrast to what we did at the nationals, but I have to say I chilled.
Yeah.
I don't know, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me it was really also extremely nice to pick up all the hobbies that I had neglected before, because the last few months before the German finals, of course you shouldn't do that, but you kind of so for example, I play competitive table tennis, and it was really great to go to training and not have something else in mind, and just maybe come back into life a bit.
That's true.
Go to sports, go to the gym, and just also take a break from it. I think that's important to restructure your thoughts also for the World Finals, and in order to get an idea of who we want to be for the World Finals and what we want to represent.
Yeah, I can agree. So also after the Germans, all the pressure was away. So as we talked about in the last episode, in the preparation, 2 weeks before a competition, the pressure level is always very high.
Yeah.
And after the Germans, we didn't really have that pressure level. And furthermore, we really had a motivation to work towards the World Finals because of this great achievement we made.
But that's actually interesting, because maybe that was also a bit different for you than it was for me. Because I actually felt a lot of pressure after the German finals. For me, it was a really big step, because you knew that you now have approximately 6 months You don't know where you're going, but you know that you've qualified, and you know that you have to give the best performance you can possibly give.
Yeah.
And also, and that was one of the most influential things for me, I think, also mentally, it was the budget. Because I think F1 in schools, as everybody knows, is supported through sponsorships. And in Germany, we don't get a government grant or something. Like, for example, I think in Australia they do.
That's true.
And so for us, we had a budget of around 40,000 euros if everything went smoothly. And we had to find sponsors and supporters who in the end were able to support this, or we wouldn't have the option to go to the World Finals. I don't know what it was like for you, but for me it was really a lot of pressure, and you really... It was a crazy feeling. At the same time, I mean, you really were excited to work now and get it. But I think that was a really tough part.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's really you just have won or you just got a second place at the German Nationals, and then shortly after that you really have to get back into the, I don't know, work mood, I'd say.
Yeah.
You have to acquire the sponsors. That's really a tough exercise, but for me, I really was kind of like proud on what we had achieved.
Yeah.
And this feeling of seeing that all of our work that we put in paid out, I think that really gave me motivation for go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it was really it was definitely motivation was a big factor playing in it. And maybe we can also start with how we actually structured our initiation process, which is as probably all of you know, the process of starting a project and really getting an idea. So basically the most important thing for us was to know what we want to do, define the scope of the project, and so we had in total actually not one but 3 kickoff meetings, because one of the most important things, and this is also something that we're going to discuss later on in the learnings for initiation, is to keep it to accomplish every deliverable that is needed to complete initiation, but nevertheless to keep it short. Because when initiation takes too long, then, as you already said, this mindset of working towards something is lost, and you're not really working good, and you're just initiating. And so we had 3 kickoff meetings in total. The first one was where we met at Zaki, who is our finance manager.
At Zaki's basement.
Yeah, at Zaki's basement.
Yeah.
And we talked, which was maybe one of the most important ones, I think. But you can't really say which one was more important. But it was really important where we talked about our vision and what our basic ideas were.
Another thing I'd like to add is that, I don't know, for the nationals we could build up on the things we did for the Hamburg competition, or the competition in Hamburg. But for the World Finals, kind of like everything was new, and we had the feeling of starting from zero. So it was like this for me, because the regulations not changed completely, but there were many different.
Very, very different.
Very different. And like Ferdy already mentioned, the sum we needed to acquire, and by now have acquired, was way higher than everything we experienced before. And so it was kind of like we met and we started from zero, and we had to develop everything from that point.
Although you qualified, I think that's also something that's very different in Germany than, for example, it is in Great Britain or something where basically, from what I understand, then their national competition is very similar from what is assessed and from the criteria to the World Finals. But for us, it was completely different. We had to write 3 portfolios instead of 2. We had to do everything in English now. Stop writing the portfolios in German. And also, for example, for the German finals, the podcast would have been in German.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that was really hard. And so after talking about all the questions and really discussing what we wanted to do, which was really important at Zaki, we had like the biggest kickoff meeting, I think. I think it was 3 or 5 days later, which was on the weekend, and we had the opportunity to use the conference room of NER, which is also a company, and we had
at this point, thank you to NER.
Yeah, thanks a lot to NER, and we had the option to have our kickoff meeting there where we talked about the different performance domain and the management structure and everything that really needed to be created. So we conceived a project charter, which I recommend to everybody of you because it's really important, because it gives a main idea of the project and it outlines what's in scope for the project and also what's out of scope, which is done in the scope statement as well. And yeah, I think this is really important. And then we talked about the risks that we would face, the different deliverables that we had. We talked about the acceptance criteria. I think this was like the toughest one because we really worked all the time and was like sitting in this conference room. You also felt like you were some type of business, cool, yeah. You know. Yeah. But it was fun as well. What was it like for you?
Yeah, so for me, as you said, like the atmosphere in this building was quite cool, I'd say. We were in this conference room, but I remember it was on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
And going back to the state of work, to this continuous meetings, was also a bit hard for me because we just finished the hard time before the German nationals. So I not always was very thrilled on meeting again and again and again. Yeah. So I think that was a bit stressing, but it was necessary, of course.
Yeah, of course.
As you said, we discussed a lot of things, and we also had a third kickoff meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this kickoff meeting was like really the one that was like the toughest. You know, we had to do all the work, and but after we had created the project charter and everything, it was fine as well. The last kickoff meeting was then where we defined the scope. We created a scope statement, created a Gantt chart, a work breakdown structure, and also started monitoring the performance domains and also especially the development performance domain, which development approach we actually used. But we're not going to talk a lot about this now because it's still going to be very necessary for the World Finals and also in explaining how we work towards them. But I think the third kickoff meeting was like after that the initiation was done, and I think that was a great feeling because you had already accomplished something at least in the preparation for the World Finals, and then everything went into detail, and we had like this 1 month phase where we were like preparing and everybody was taking a look in depth also at their working area, and the first social media designs were created, the first portfolio designs were created, and I think the two main factors which also, and I think we're going to switch to Ray Explains now, right?
Just another thing I'd like to add is that kind of like in the beginning it seems like you have nothing. First of all, you feel like you have nothing. So you have nothing written yet. You have no portfolio designs, no designs at all. But if you start working with little steps, so if you just write, I don't know, one text, you email one sponsor, it's
a step into the right direction.
It's a step into the right direction, and it gives you like a good feeling that you have already done something.
Yeah. And I think that's also, and now we're going to switch to Ray Explains, where we're going to try to pass on what we've learned through initiation. I think that's also one of the most important steps is that during initiation, I think every single team that works towards the World Finals or has qualified at a competition and is now going to the next step, I think you always have this feeling of, okay, so we have a really high perfectionism. You know, we had this feeling of like, okay, now we're going to the World Finals. The social media design has to be perfect. The text have to be written in perfect way. The sponsorship, the way that we contact our sponsors has to be perfect. Everything needs to. But I think the most important part is first of all doing something. You know, it's doing something. It doesn't have to be perfect right away because no work will be just instantly perfect, and you'll have like the car. It doesn't just start with like a crazy concept and everything, but you have to develop something in order to then progress and improve it. You know, and I think that was really important. We had this with the social media design. Okay, do you want to tell the story of what it started like and?
I can say it like I remember it. So we had a meeting, I don't know, in the evening, and Min Sung presented us the first kind of design for our social media, and it was done with, I don't know, already Adobe InDesign, I think. But I'd say it looked a bit odd. So there were many like squares, and somewhere was text, and the picture was too small, and we all were like, yeah, okay, but we need a way better design for.
I think it was really a bummer, because we had this feeling like, okay, now we're going to have some social media design. Then it was like, but does this look like a world finals social media design, or does it
because
look...
the standard is very high, so you have to you look at other teams, what other teams have done for the world finals, and you always see great social media designs. You always see, I don't know, great YouTube content, and you also want to achieve what they had achieved. But I don't know, like 2 weeks after, we had another call, and then Minsung presented us, I'd say, the best social media design I've ever seen.
It was crazy. It was like 2 weeks later, and he just continued to work on it, and that's the learning that I think is so important. He continued to work on it, and it was way better in the end, and we instantly, everybody liked it, and that's one of the main takeaways. So the second thing that I think is very important for the initiation phase for everybody, which is also very important in big companies in general, when you manage projects, the main thing that I've learned is that initiation shouldn't take too long. You should have some type of limit to when initiation has to end, and you start planning, and not only planning but actually executing the work that has to be done.
And now we're going to talk about one of our partners for the World Finals, the Wilhelm Stemmer Fund Organization, and it's funded by, or it's created by Wilhelm Stemmer, and he is an investor, and he has built up a great company. It's known all over the world, and his approach was to build a fund organization that pushes, or that helps young children who are interested in the STEM aspects, developing their interests, I don't know, for example, in mathematics, or also 3D printing. That's also an aspect they are working on. Yeah, and basically his approach was to support these children, and that's also why we, or in general F1 in schools, fits perfectly in this.
And that's also why we're really thankful that we are supported by the Wilhelm Stemmer Stiftung.
Yeah, and we also really like the approach the fund organization has, because for us, I don't know, young students are also a target group we have, and we try to reach with all of our, for example, marketing activities, and that's why we are also really happy to have this organization who is also aligned with us very well, I'd say.
Yeah. So I think that's actually already the end of the sponsor segment. And of course, this episode was very focused on the management. And I hope that you guys had some takeaways.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so thank you for listening to our second episode. And we hope you liked it. And we'll see you. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.